Okay, today, guys, we're going to section 1.1, that's expressions and variables. Now, there are a number of vocabulary words you need to know so that you're able to do some of these problems. The more vocabulary words you know, the better off you'll be. Not that you have to memorize these, but you have to be familiar with them. They are numerical expression, variable, variable expression, the word evaluate, in verbal model. You can find these in your book on pages 5 and 6. I'm not going to go over those, but I will point them out whenever we run across these in our examples in this video. So again, numerical expression, variable expression, evaluate, and verbal model. Okay, so let's look at the first set of problems we want to do today. We're going to evaluate each of these expressions when x is 6 and y is 12. Now, each of these that you see on the screen is a variable expression. You have a variable and a number, and it's separated by an operator like a plus or minus or multiplication. Um, these are variable expressions. Now, if you did not see the variable, if they just had numbers, they would just be numerical expression. And we're going to evaluate these. Evaluate means basically find an answer, get an answer. So that's what we're going to do. And I'm going to show you how I want you to do it on your paper. Okay, so let's look at this first one. We've got y plus 6. Well, what I want to see on your paper, I want to see the substitution that you perform. Y is equal to 12. So I'm going to want you to write down 12 plus 6, and I think we can all do that. That is 18. Okay, and then you'll circle the answer just like this. Okay, again, let's look at y minus x. Well, I want to see on your paper, you don't have to write y minus x, but I want to see 12 minus 6, and I'm writing crooked. This is a new device. It's kind of hard for me to get used to. 12 minus 6 is equal to 6. Easy enough. So you have 15 minus x. Well, that's 15 minus 6. Since x equals 6, 15 minus 6 is equal to 9. And then you'll just circle your answer like that. Okay, so I want to see two things. I want to see this and this. Okay, xy. Now, if there's no operator in between here, we know it's multiplication. Okay, in algebra, we lose the dot and we lose the multiplication sign. We just put the variables together. So that's really x times y. When I substitute, though, I can't just put the numbers together because that would be 6, and that would look like 612. I have to separate these by parentheses. Okay, so 6 times 12 is equal to 72. Okay, and that's our first set of problems. Let's look at our next set. Okay, here I have m equals 8, n equals 4. Okay, now I've got m over 2. Now that's a fraction, but it's also division. A fraction is division. So m is 8, 8 over 2, and that's going to equal 4. Again, I want to see this and this on your paper. Let's look at the next one over here, which is another division problem. I've got m times n over 2. Well, m is 8, and n is 4. Again, I can't just put them together. I have to separate them by parentheses so they make sense. So I've got 8 times 4, which is 32 over 2. That is equal to 16. Circle the answer. Again, I've got m plus n. M is 8 plus n is 4. 8 plus 4 is 12. Circle the answer. Then I've got m minus n. 8 minus 4. That is equal to 4. And we are done. That's basically what you're going to be seeing today. I want to go over a word problem. And that word problem I'm going to read from the book here. 1.1, this is number 11 in 1.1, page 7. It says, in 2002, astronauts Carl and Dan spent 196 in orbit. How many sunrises did they see? 196 days in orbit. Okay, so we know they spent 196 days. We want to write that down because that's important information to have. Okay, also it says in part 1, an astronaut in orbit circles the Earth every 90 minutes and sees 16 sunrises each day. Let D be the number of days an astronaut is in orbit. Okay, so we're going to write that because it tells us that's important. D is the number of days in orbit. My writing's pretty bad with this thing, bear with me. Okay, it says write a variable expression for the number of sunrises seen in D days? Well, it says an astronaut sees 16 sunrises each day. So 16 times the number of days in orbit. A day is D. So that would be, the variable expression would be 16 times D, but we would just write that as 16D. No, we're not going to put a dot in here. We're not going to put a multiplication sign. It's just 16 times D. That's just 16D. So this is a variable expression. It's a number and variable. It's got an operator in between. So this is part one. Now it says to identify the value of D for the 2002 space flight. Well, the value of D, remember it says D is number of days in orbit. Well, how many days were they in orbit? 196 days. So that is D. D is equal to 196. Now, if we were going to evaluate this, we would simply take what D is equal to, substitute in for D, and we get 16 times 196. But I'd have to put parentheses around that because you can't, if you got two numbers here, you need to have a parentheses to denote multiplication. And again, if you're just putting the two numbers together, it's going to look like 16,196. But this is writing a variable expression from a word problem. So we need to look for keywords that tell us we're either adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing. And we figure out what they're asking for. And then we look for those bits of information in the problem that help us to solve the problem. Okay? That's basically what we're seeing today. And that is all for this tutorial.